Bibliophiles of the internet, my name's Adriana, and today I'm here to give you 5 reasons to read Silvia Moreno-Garcia's Gods of Jade and Shadow. This is her latest release. It's historical fantasy steeped in mythology set in Mexico during the Jazz Age, starring Cassiopeia, who is basically treated like the family servant. And one day when she's cleaning up her grandfather's house, she comes across this mysterious wooden box. When she opens the box, she ends up unleashing a Mayan death god who her grandfather actually entrapped after making a backhanded deal with this god's brother to his own benefit. Now this god, Juncame, wants Cassiopeia to help him recover missing parts of his essence that have been scattered and also help him take revenge on his brother so that he might regain control over the underworld and take his rightful place. If she succeeds, he is ready to grant her every last wish, but if she fails, then her life is forfeit. Reason number 1 to read this amazing, fantastical story is that it collects all the best parts of fairy tales and mythical stories all in one place, but it's still unique within its own right. I have been telling everyone that this story is like if a stout-hearted Mexican Cinderella fell into a Mayan version of American gods with just a hint of the human god dynamics from N.K. Jemison's The 100,000 Kingdoms. Those are my best comp titles for this book. This story is so exciting to me because it has all these different elements. It has this whirlwind road trip to all of these historical Mexican landmarks. It has high stakes, it has history, and it's concentrated through a very human lens. It has all of those touchstones of myth and folktale in that it explores good versus evil, creation and destruction, impossible tasks, and the choices these characters have to make if they hope to face them and triumph in some way. It's very much about the human coming into contact with the inhuman, with the impossible, with worlds we can never imagine, and finding a way to unite those forces. Cassiopeia is very much falling into this age-old struggle between these two warring death gods, and she basically becomes Juncame's champion in many ways, and it's really interesting to see how taking on that role challenges everything she knows about herself. It's exciting that this story does honor and play off that mythical tradition, but by the end you can really say that there's no other story out there quite like it. Reason number 2 is that Cassiopeia is the driving force of change in Juncame's life and not the other way around as you might expect. I love that this story has a character who is very ordinary, who's very human, and yet she is not cowed by this all-powerful death god. Instead, it's about what she can offer him as a human with a completely different perspective on life. When Juncame first enters the story, he's just from a totally different world. He's very closed off, he talks in a very antiquated way, and knows nothing about humanity and human life, and Cassiopeia is the one acclimating him to all of that as she goes. Like, there's a really great moment when Cassiopeia and Juncame are on a train, and she gives him an orange to snack on, and he literally just sits there holding it, not knowing what to do with it until she shows him that you have to peel it to get to the fruit. That small, intimate moment is just the epitome of their entire dynamic. She refuses to be intimidated by him, and I love that because as someone who knows how to navigate the human world, she does hold her own kind of power, and she's not afraid to wield it. It's not a story that's like, here's how this impossibly powerful god waved his hands and changed my life. The energy is very much, here's how I changed a Mayan death god's life, and that distinction brings me so much happiness. Reason number 3 is that Cassiopeia is learning that the dreams we keep for ourselves can only have power if we give them voice and space. I think a big part of Cassiopeia's journey in this book is healing from intergenerational trauma and overcoming how she's been taught to believe that she is secondary in her own life. She spent so many years feeling othered and distanced by her own family, a family who tries to show her time and time again that she is not good enough. But when she chooses to become Juncame's champion, she is realizing that her existence and her choices do have an impact. She's dreamed all of these things for herself, envisioned entire futures for herself that she never let herself believe, and being thrown into this struggle between gods is making her realize the value of dreaming impossible things because she is getting that much closer to things she never would have thought to imagine for herself. The more time she spends with Juncame, the more she is learning that there is power in words, there is power in dreams, there is power in speaking your intentions, and that doing so literally changes the makeup and the entire landscape of your personal universe. If we go back to this idea of releasing Juncame from his box, I think this story has a lot to say about releasing the things we keep trapped, the things we try to keep from ourselves, because what we want or need in life should not be one of our best kept secrets. Related to that, reason number 4 is that with each new experience, Cassiopeia is realizing that she is the hero of her own story and that it could never be anyone else. As I said, this story is about discovering one's own agency, learning how to dream for yourself, and it's also about the power of making choices. That's really what this journey is. It's a series of moments where Cassiopeia decides for herself, yes, I will do this thing. Yes, I will go to this place. Yes, I will face this challenge. In many ways, she is inextricably tied to Hunkame for being the person to release him from his prison, but she is also the only person who can make these choices. And after living through a lifetime of not being able to decide anything for herself, a lifetime of being dismissed as someone less, this journey is testing her limits, and she's realizing that she has always had the capacity to do extraordinary things. When you think about it, we are nothing if we don't see ourselves as worthy, if we don't see ourselves occupying places of importance and conquering the odds. Cassiopeia has never been in a position to see herself in that light, but now she is finally getting that chance. And again, it's not that this all-powerful death god finally sees value in her life. It's that she wholeheartedly throws herself into every challenge and decides that yes, she can do this. Life is just a series of stories, and the best stories are the ones we create for ourselves, where we make ourselves the heroes. Which nicely ties into reason number 5. Ultimately, I think Cassiopeia's journey shows us that we have to respect the story that is our life. I've talked a lot about choice in this video, but as a writer myself, I can definitely say that stories are just a series of choices, and the choices Cassiopeia takes on really do make all the difference. It's true that the circumstances are extraordinary and also extraordinarily out of her control, but the choices are still hers to make. She could choose to give up, she could choose to just go lay down on the side of the road and die. That would certainly be a choice, but instead she rises to face every challenge and honors the choices her past self made at every point. There's a moment when she thinks about what would happen if she failed her quest, and she thinks about how she can't betray Hunkame, she can't betray herself, and she cannot betray the narrative of her life up until that moment. Cassiopeia is not a hero in the traditional sense, but she is a force to be reckoned with once her mind is made up, and she won't let anyone else's choices dictate the direction of the story that is her life. I think it's powerful to see her surrender to this idea that her story and its impact is almost greater than herself, and that she just has to find ways to lean in and be true to that force that she creates. Those are just a handful of reasons to read this incredible, immersive, beautifully written story full of magically unforgettable moments and dynamic Mexican characters. But of course, if you've read this one yourself, or if you would like to, feel free to stop by the comments so we can discuss. Also, if at any point in this video you thought, hey, they really nailed that review, you can also support the channel now through my Patreon, which I will link down below for you to check out if you would like. But that's everything I had for this review today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the flip side of the page.